So, welcome to today's session. Today, we're going to be talking about quantum uh, sexuality, right? Quantum sacred sexuality. And this topic is very important. And I know that in my life, for example, it's not something that I have had the opportunity to talk a lot about. Um, I will say that in the last few years, it's been a more common topic because I have started talking more about it and sharing more about it and bringing this to my circles, to my good friends and to my men's circles, to my partnership. But I'm curious to know in your life if you had the opportunity to talk about sexuality openly, and if you haven't, and what do you feel about this topic? Do you feel excited? Do you feel hesitant? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel um, unsafe? I'm just curious to know how you guys feel about this before we get started. Hi, Linda. Greetings from San Diego, California. Welcome. So happy to have you here. Yeah, and also a reminder that anytime you feel uncomfortable, anytime you feel triggered, please take care of yourself if that happens, okay? Um, in whatever way that looks like for you, safety looks different for each of you. So I invite you to be curious. I invite you to share as much as you want and feel. And you can also just watch, okay? So you don't have to do anything that you don't want to, but be very compassionate and be very, yeah, I would say patient and compassionate and and curious. So just curious to know before we start any reflections about feelings that this topic evoke in you, anything that you would like to get out of this session, anything that you would like to learn, to talk about, to be seen in. Just curious to know before we get started with the session. So feel free to share anything in the comments. And then while you guys share something, if you feel like it, I would like to say that today's session about sacred sexuality, this is not about techniques or performance or anything like that, okay? So this is all about conscious presence. It's all about being present with sexual energy. That sexual energy it's one of the most important energies, right? It's the life force. And sexual energy doesn't only relate to sexuality and intimate connection with another person or with yourself. Sexual energy is present in anything that you create. Creativity comes from sexual energy. Anytime you are creating something, anytime you are building something, anytime you are setting boundaries, anytime you are speaking your truth, expressing yourself in any way, you are always using sexual energy because that's the energy that creates everything. Okay? Linda says a little discomfort. Well, thank you, Linda. Your discomfort is welcome here. And I invite curiosity. I also feel today nervous, more than usual. Nervous and uncomfortable. Yeah, feeling like, who am I to talk about this? This shouldn't be talked about this openly. Yeah, I am really feeling a lot of stuff that most likely is not even mine. Most likely is coming from my ancestors, from belief systems, from family systems, from society systems and beliefs and ideas, right? And I think it's important to talk about this, and it's important to really shine the light on this because it's a very important topic. Um, so yeah, so being conscious, being present, and not having an agenda. This is what sacred sexuality is all about. It's about you being able to be present with that energy. And in this case, sometimes that looks like being present with an intimate partner, right? And when you step into sacred sexuality, this is a moment to moment experience, right? This is not, you are not entering this to get something, to expect something with a specific goal in mind. I need to have an orgasm, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to receive this. So it's a moment to moment experience, right? And anything can show up. Sometimes amazing stuff, sometimes it's pleasurable, sometimes it's also painful. Sometimes emotions may arise that are uncomfortable. So, sacred sexuality is the ability to be present and to create space for anything that's showing up, because that is the truth in that moment. So, right now, some people are feeling uncomfortable. I am feeling nervous. Sharon says, yes, also a bit uncomfortable, but your most recent explanation helped me to further understand the topic. So, curiosity, right? And being open and being willing to explore this from different angles, right? And we're going to get into how does this apply from a quantum perspective, and how does that look like? And I'm going to get there in a little bit, okay? But sexuality, as I was saying, is life force energy. Is creative, is emotional, is relational. Is you are really using that energy every day in everything that you are doing. So sacred sexuality is about how we are with sexual energy. It's not what we do with it. Okay, sometimes you don't have to do anything. You just have to be present with it, moment to moment, right? So from a quantum perspective, okay, sexuality, this sexual energy, from a quantum perspective, everything is energy. Okay, so sexuality is a kind of energy, right? Sexual energy is one of the strongest amplifiers of energy. Amplifiers, right? And it doesn't create alignment, it magnifies whatever is already present, right? Whatever state you are in that present moment, it's going to get amplified when you throw sexual energy into that mix. And this is why this is such an important topic, because when you can use sacred sexuality and be able to create a container of time, a physical container with someone else, you can also do it with yourself. But when you do it with someone else, you have the ability to enter a space, enter a depth that is very difficult, I would say probably impossible to access by yourself. So yeah, everything that you are feeling in that moment to moment to moment experience, sexual energy is going to amplify that a lot. Okay, that's why it's so easy to feel triggered. That's why it's so easy to feel unsafe. That's why it's so easy to feel a lot of pleasure too. So everything gets amplified. So whatever you bring into there, it amplifies, right? So basically, everything that's happening is a reflection of what's already inside of you. And this is also very important to understand. Like, it's amplifying what you already energetically have inside of you. And we're going to get into that a bit more, okay? So then sexual energy doesn't heal and sexual energy doesn't harm. It just amplifies whatever is present. Okay, so that's why you can use that energy for both. And in that, so just think about it, when you are entering an intimate time with someone, you are kind of showing yourself in a very vulnerable, and the other person is seeing you very fully. Yeah, they get to see things about you and that no one else gets to see. Like, sometimes you are naked, sometimes you are very vulnerable, and just everything gets amplified, as I'm saying. So it's very normal for you to feel things very strongly in that interaction. And that's why sacred sexuality, it's an art. It's something that you just keep learning and learning by showing up, by creating the space, by really entering that space with a lot of consciousness, a lot of awareness. Okay, you don't enter that space to get. You don't enter that space because you are feeling lonely and you want to fill that void with someone else's presence. So you enter that space because you are feeling well, you're feeling full with yourself, and then you enter that space and you just want to be present and you just want to honor and accept what happens. and you don't need anything to happen, and you don't need a specific goal to occur. So that's why it's so important to be regulated, to feel energetically kind of grounded. Because if not, you're gonna bring all of that. You're gonna bring it to that container, and sometimes it's fine because you can use that container to help you understand how you are feeling too. So when you are present and you are regulated, you can create bonding, healing, and creativity opportunities, right? When you are dysregulated, you are feeling unsafe, you are on a fight or flight, you are not grounded, you can reenact wounding, you can create confusion, you can trigger the other person, you can trigger yourself, and it can become a very unsafe and very uncomfortable situation. And I will say that feeling unsafe and feeling uncomfortable are two different things, okay? And when you enter sacred sexuality, it's important to understand that you are going to feel uncomfortable, that you are going to feel a lot of emotions in that container with that person. But that doesn't mean that you have to feel unsafe about it. So safety is something different than you feeling the emotions that you are feeling. And sometimes you opening up to those emotions won't happen unless you are feeling safe. And this makes total sense. I won't recommend you doing this practice with someone that you don't feel safe with, and without really agreeing on that, what that safety looks like. What happens if someone feels unsafe? What are you guys doing? Are you pausing? Are you stopping? Do you have a safe word that you use to make sure that everything stops? Do you need things to slow down? Are you able to ask for what you need, or are you feeling kind of, oh, I can't express myself? So all of these will get amplified when you are entering that container. So very, very important. And by the way, feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to stop me if you want to elaborate on something, or you want to share something about something that's coming up for you. Feel free to put it in the chat. Okay. So let's talk about sexuality as a healing and wounding, right? So sex can heal when there is safety. And again, safety means something different for each of us. So we have to learn and describe and communicate what that is. And sometimes discover. Sometimes you discover what that is through the interaction. That's why this is a moment to moment experience, and you don't need to know everything. You are going to enter, and you are always going to be walking and being aware and conscious, right? Oh, right now I am feeling unsafe. So what do I need? Oh, I need to slow down. Okay. Oh, I need to breathe. Okay, right now I don't want physical touch. Or right now, I don't know, I need to be alone. Or this was too much for me right now and I have to stop. Or I just want to lay down and take a moment. So you get to decide what that looks like for you and experiment. You don't have to have the answers either. Yeah. So there is safety, there is consent. Okay, there is always consent about what's happening, emotional and energetic consent. So this is really important because consent maintains the safety, right? If someone starts doing something that you don't understand and that's triggering you, you will feel unsafe very quickly. And sometimes what I may judge something safe and simple, for the other person, it may be something completely unsafe. So consent sometimes is really important, especially in this arena of sacred sexuality, that everything can be very subtle, very amplified, very explosive, right? So you have to be very gentle. There is presence, right? You are fully present. If you are thinking about your to-do list, about what I have to do tomorrow, about the person I have to call after, you are not being present. And when you are not being present, the other person is going to notice that. Maybe not even consciously, but unconsciously, energetically, they are going to notice what you are embodying energetically, and they will see what this person is not here, so I cannot trust this person, so I won't be opening myself and expressing things because this person is not with me. So presence is very important. And then there is space to slow down. So nothing needs to happen. The pace is always changing depending on what's happening. There is consent, there is presence. So all these ingredients are necessary for this experience to be able to be healing. And then sex can wound when it's used to regulate anxiety or loneliness. So you are using sex as a coping mechanism, let's put it that way. It's used to feel worthy, chosen, or secure. So you are using sex to feel better. You are using sex to feel that you are worthy, to feel that someone is choosing you, and that gives you energy. And then there is pressure, there is obligation, or there is a performance. Something is expected. And many times this can happen unconsciously. Many times the person who is creating this, they may not even have that intention, okay? So that's why this is so, it's important to be gentle, because sometimes my actions are going to create an impact that I am not intending to. And that's why when you can be fully present and the other person can be fully present, and then we are discovering what's happening moment to moment, I am going to discover things about myself. Wow, I had no idea that when I did this, you felt that way. And I had no idea that I was not asking for consent. And I thought that this was something automatic that could happen and it was fine, but it's not. And so many things can be learned and discovered in this interaction. Okay? So if something painful shows up during intimacy, it doesn't mean that something is wrong. Okay? It means that something is being revealed. So this is the powerful healing opportunity that can happen in this arena of sacred sexuality, because everything gets amplified, because people are seeing you in a very intimate context, very vulnerable. So the depth of that situation is, it's way deeper than any other situation in your life, most likely. So everything getting amplified, you are being vulnerable and seen fully. Stuff may show up, okay? And that's what I was saying, that there is a difference between safety and discomfort. You can feel safe and feel uncomfortable. So you don't have to choose one or the other, but sometimes if you don't feel safe, most likely you are going to close and you're not going to be able to keep going with the experience. But if you are feeling safe, then you can stay present with the emotion that is arising, and you may discover something about yourself. You may be able to look at something, you may be able to experience something that in another context will be very difficult to experience. And that's why when you can be present and conscious and you can discover what's happening, that is awareness. And awareness is always the first step for you to heal, to integrate, to reframe, to realign, to transform. You can use whatever word suits you, but basically you are discovering something about you, and you are consciously becoming aware of it. And then when you discover that, that's making you feel a specific way, and that's making you probably act a specific way and feel triggered and react. So when you become aware, you are aware of all that process, and then all of a sudden you have the opportunity to choose something different. And sometimes you're going to choose something different that feels more aligned, and you may understand that you are experiencing a trigger from the past, but in this present moment that is not happening, but your nervous system is reacting that way because it's been habitual for you. But now you are breaking that cycle and you are choosing to do something different, and you are kind of reprogramming your nervous system in saying like, oh, this experience is actually not unsafe anymore. It is safe. And it's going to become even enjoyable moving forward. And I am choosing to go here, or I'm not choosing to go here. So it's always your choice, but it's a more conscious and aware choice. So are you guys willing to listen to a couple of questions to help you become aware of your own sexuality and your relationship with this topic? Yes, amazing. Yeah, so this is the first one, okay? Just listen and just be curious and just answer honestly. there is not a right or wrong answer here. It's just a discovery process, okay? So the first one, do I actually want intimacy right now, or do I want safety, connection, and reassurance? So do I really want intimacy right now, or do I want safety, connection, or reassurance? So that's the first one. Then the next one is, when intimacy approaches, do I feel expansion or do I feel contraction in my body? So when intimacy approaches, and that can be if you are in a relationship and you have a partner, when your partner is kind of approaching you and you kind of sense that they are looking for intimacy, like, do you feel expansive or do you feel contracting? And if you don't have a partner, think about a situation where maybe you meet someone, or maybe you go on a date, or maybe a good friend of yours that you kind of like, intimacy starts showing up. And intimacy, I don't mean just physical touch. Intimacy can be emotional intimacy, can be a nice conversation, but you can notice that there is a different texture of energy. There is kind of this kind of play, you notice that the person is kind of different and they are kind of more into you. So how do you feel in that intimate moment? Do you feel expansive or contracted? And feel free to share in the chat if you want, okay? And then, do I associate intimacy with pressure, obligation, or performance? So when you hear the word intimacy, do you have a connection that intimacy equals feeling pressure, feeling obligation, or feeling you have to perform or do something specific? So 3 questions about energy and state, okay, for you to kind of think about it and feel. So how regulated do I feel before intimacy? How regulated do you feel? So do I feel before intimacy? And again, this, maybe you can go back to the latest experience that you had on an intimate level, and then you can think about this. You can reflect, like, how regulated was I in that moment? Was I regulated and grounded, or was I nervous, distracted, etc.? Am I present in my body, or am I in my head? So when you are in an intimate moment, like, are you in your head thinking, analyzing, or are you in your body actually feeling, wow, this feels this way? I don't know. Are you in touch with your breath? Do you know how your body is positioned? If you are doing physical touch of any kind, are you feeling, and are you kind of receiving and giving? And are you aware of how warm or how cold, or the smell of the room, or and am I using intimacy to escape something? So are you using intimacy to escape something? You can be escaping loneliness, you can be escaping stress, you can be escaping feeling unworthy, feeling alone, and then you just don't want to be alone. So basically, are you trying to use sex to feel something? And again, this is not something for you to judge and criticize yourself. This is something for you to just discover that. And then that's kind of a hint. Hey, Emilio, right now you are going and approaching your partner because you are feeling alone. So you are not going there to be present and give. You are going there because you are feeling alone, and you think that maybe if I get some physical touch and some intimacy, I will feel more full. So that's a mistake, because I am not feeling well with myself, and I am already entering a sacred sexuality not being fully present and with an intention, an expectation in mind. So again, there is nothing wrong with entering that container, but I can then enter that container with that and be honest. And wow, like I really feel alone today, and I really will enjoy if I can feel you a little bit. Are you open for that? So that is very different than me going, sneaking in, and then trying to get what I need without being honest about it. So my partner is gonna feel that energetic change. So this is one example of the texture of that interaction is gonna be very different. And how safe she's going to feel with me is gonna be very different. Because if I am being fully honest and I am owning how I feel and what I'm bringing, and I am asking for what I want, and I won't get defensive if I get a no. I will try my best not to take it personal if she doesn't want to. But I'm honoring myself. I'm honoring my truth. I'm honoring how I feel. And I'm asking for what I want very clearly, right? Versus me not wanting to feel the way I feel. And then I go there and then I try to sneak in. I try to get something. And then the interaction is for me. It's not a moment to moment experience. So that she's going to feel less safe because she knows that I'm not being honest. So that's one example of my own life, for example. And then stories and beliefs. There are 3 questions about stories and beliefs to help you understand maybe some stories that you may have that you are following unconsciously or maybe consciously. So the first one is, what did I learn about sex growing up? What did I learn about sex growing up? And again, feel free to share any of these things in the chat if you want to. In my case, when I think about this question, it wasn't something that was spoken openly, to be honest. It was something that if I ask, I will get some answers, but it wasn't something that was fully in the air, kind of open. And so yeah, what did I learn about sex growing up? I learned that it's something that you do privately. I learned that it's not something that people are excited to talk about openly. I learned that people felt uncomfortable when sex entered the picture and people avoid it. So I learned that there was something wrong or there was something that wasn't appropriate. So I did learn all those things, right? And maybe that's why today I was showing up nervous, because part of me feels like, oh, you are doing something that is not right. Another question is sex associated with love, duty, shame, power, or safety? So when you think about sex, what is sex associated with? Is it love? Is it duty? You have to do it? Is it shame? Is it power? Is it safety? It's maybe something different. And then the last one, do I believe I have to give something to receive love? So do I believe I have to give something to receive love? And this one connects with the self-worth, right? With the idea that I have to do something to earn love. If I don't do anything, just being myself is not enough. I have to perform, I have to do something. And then when that enters the picture, sometimes in my experience, I have a tendency to people please because I'm trying to make sure that the other person is okay. And deep down, if the other person is not okay, I don't feel okay because I have an attachment style that is anxious. And I learned that if people around me are not okay, it is my responsibility to make sure that they are fine. And until I don't sense everyone is okay, I won't allow myself to feel okay because I will be selfish and that will be not right. So of course, if that's the story and that's the belief system that I learn and that I have been repeating, it's very important for me to become aware of this. It's very important for me to understand, no, Emilio, you deserve to have your own needs and wants. No one is responsible for fulfilling them, but you can express them openly and there is nothing wrong with what you want and feel. And you are not responsible for someone else's problems or feelings or emotions. And that doesn't mean that you cannot be present. That doesn't mean that you cannot be compassionate and empathetic. But that doesn't mean that if they choose to stay there forever, it's not going to make me feel always bad. So this is something that, this is one example of a dynamic that can come into sacred sexuality and can get amplified. And this is an opportunity to really get in touch with it and understand, wow, like I am doing this, I believe this. And when it's amplified, it's just easier to see it. And when it's amplified with safety and with presence of someone else, and you are being witnessed, there are so many more layers of healing that you can access that is you cannot when you are alone. And this brings me to the idea that partners are mirrors. Okay, so basically you are seeing in the partner that you are having, if you are having a sacred intimacy, a sacred sexuality kind of time with someone, with a partner, that partner is going to be a mirror for you, and you are going to see yourself through them. So romantic partners access layers that no one else can. This is why sacred sexuality is so powerful and it's such a beautiful healing opportunity if you find the right partner, because they will help you access layers of yourself that you will not access with anyone else. It's just not possible. Sexual intimacy activates your attachment wounds. Remember, there are different kinds of attachment styles that you develop when you are growing up. You have the avoidant attachment style, you have the anxious attachment style, you have the secure attachment style, and then you have the disorganized, that is a mixture of avoidant and anxious depending on the situation. And I do believe that we all have tendencies of all of them depending on the situation. But then when you enter these attachment wounds, these attachment stories and behaviors that you have experienced, they're going to get activated and they're going to get amplified. Okay. And then with this, fear of abandonment may get activated, shame, fear of being too much, fear of not being enough. So lots of things are going to get activated and lots of things are going to get amplified. And this is an opportunity for you to really use your partner as a mirror so that you can access parts of yourself that otherwise will be very difficult to see because they will not get activated. If you are alone, I meet a lot of people and they say, I don't want relationships. And then when they say that, I can sense that there is a lot of charge. And when you are alone and you are not exposing yourself to any of these things, of course you are going to be okay because you are not going to see any of these things playing. But the sooner that you get in touch with someone and you go a little bit deeper, it's just normal that things are going to get activated. It's just a part of having a relationship. So from a quantum perspective, your partner isn't creating the wound. They are illuminating it. So from an energetic point of view, your partner is just a mirror, and they are not activating the wound or creating the wound. They are just shining the light on it so that you can see it. And their presence, what they represent, the story you are telling yourself, and the character that they are playing in that story, sometimes they are not doing anything in that present moment, but they represent something from the past that caused you harm, that caused you a dynamic to get started. And now that person is kind of playing that role for you. And from a quantum perspective, it's an opportunity for you to see that, an opportunity for you to be grateful for it, and an opportunity for you to decide, what do I want to do with this? And let me know. Lillian says, oh my God, thanks for saying that. Perfect timing. You're welcome, Lillian. I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm glad that it's resonating. Yeah, so this is why intimacy can feel so intense, confusing, or activating, right? Because it's just so much happening. It's just so much happening. And this is why safety is so important. And this is why sacred sexuality is something that is conscious, aware, People enter this with the willingness to be present, with the willingness to be undistracted, with the willingness to don't go and get something, and with the willingness to be honest about where they are at. And there is nothing wrong with where you are at. It's just a part of your journey. As the example I shared before about myself, right? If you are entering an interaction and you are feeling wounded and you are feeling abandoned, just own it, be honest. Listen, right now I am feeling abandoned. And what I would like is this and this. And then you are shining the light on that wound. And then the more you shine the light on it and the more you are seen on it, the more opportunities to do something different you will have. And remember, your nervous system is used to doing that. So when you were little, you adapted to whatever was there and you did the best you could. And then your inner child adapted to stay safe, to stay in connection as much as possible. But right now, you are not a little child anymore and you have more options, you have more opportunities. But your nervous system sometimes is stuck with that trigger and it's there. And anytime someone comes too close to you, it's going to get activated until you decide to look at it, until you decide to heal it, until you decide to be present with it. And this is why sacred sexuality can be such a potent healing modality. Because you're going to have opportunities to see all these things when they are activated and when they are really clear. So yeah, lots of good stuff here. So let's look at some real life examples and just checking in with you guys. Do you have any questions so far? Anything that you would like clarity about? Any experience that you want to share? Anything that you have done that worked for you about this topic? Just feel free to share in the chat. And I have some real life examples after that I want to share. Yeah, today I noticed that the chat is very quiet. And I don't blame you. I understand. Yeah, Linda says, it requires a massive amount of vulnerability. Yeah, absolutely. And this is not for everyone. But you get to choose, right? Do you want to do this or not? Do you want to go from relationship to relationship, always experiencing the same thing? And deep down, you being uncomfortable or wanting something different? Or do you choose to do the work? Do you choose to actually look at what's happening and then realign and heal, transform, make a different choice? From a quantum perspective, you are becoming someone else. Literally, you are becoming something different, someone else, a different version of you. Because remember, from a quantum perspective, everything exists here and now. And you have all the versions of yourself exist here and now. You just have to connect with it energetically, through vibration, through your emotion, through how you embody yourself. So when it comes to sacred sexuality, it is true that it requires a lot of vulnerability. But what do you choose? Do you choose to be vulnerable and create a different version of you that is more aligned with what you want, so that is able to experience more? Or do you choose to stay small and to don't expose yourself to this because it's too uncomfortable and too vulnerable? And again, there is not a right or wrong answer here. You get to choose what you want. This is your journey. And there are no mistakes. But at least whatever you are choosing it because that's what you want, not because you are afraid of it. Not because you got hurt in the past and now you don't want to try, but deep down you do want. So you do want to have a relationship, but you don't want to be uncomfortable. You want to have a relationship, but you don't want to be vulnerable and express your truth. So as you can see, there is contradictions here, right? And these contradictions come from your limiting beliefs, from your attachment style, from all the things that you learned when you were little, and all the things that you have learned throughout your life experiences, through different relationships. And there is always an opportunity to create something different if you choose that. Yeah, thank you. It's like you are speaking directly to me. I'm glad you feel that way. I just needed to hear this right now. I just met somebody. It's so sweet and wonderful. And now I'm just like watching this part of me feel so scared and contracted just because I haven't heard from him for a day and a half. Yeah, Lillian. So this is a very similar reaction from an anxious attachment style. Uh, you're feeling abandoned. This is a wound, right? That you have. You feel abandoned, and then when he doesn't text you, then you are feeling more, and that part of you is getting activated and amplified to the point that you may want to control, know where he is, blah blah blah. So it's really good that you are becoming aware of it, and it's really good that again that partner is shining on you the opportunity to look at your abandonment wound and to understand, what can I do with this? How can I heal this? What do I want to choose instead? How can I move more towards a secure attachment where I feel well with myself? I don't need anyone to feel well, but I want people around me, and I want a relationship, and I want to be seen, and I want to be the one for that person. But you don't depend on it. And I know it's very hard to get there, uh, but that's the work, right? Keep choosing consciously, what do I choose? Why is it showing up? What can I do? And then keep finding your way. Linda says, probably need to work with a therapist to undo the hard done from prior relationships. Yeah, Linda, this is a combination of things. There is therapy, there is embodiment work, there is real life interactions, there are books you can read, there are people you can talk to. Like, it's always a combination of things, and every step of your journey you are going to resonate with something different. And following your intuition here is really important, because if you are resonating with something, that means that there is something there for you to get, to receive, and take advantage of it. Sometimes that may be therapy. Sometimes that may be going and doing an embodiment program with someone. Like, I did one of those with John Wyland, and then I did another one with Tantra, with another teacher. And in every one of those experiences, it was just so wonderful. I could access parts of me that I could not access a different way. Doing imago dialogues with my partner really helps connect very deeply into these wounds, and really explore them together. And then doing work in my men's circles when I go in person, and I have a few friends that I can send WhatsApp audio messages or video messages, and I can be seen in what I'm going through. It's always a combination, right? And I have read lots of books, listened to lots of podcasts, and yeah, what book will you suggest on this? There are so many different kinds of books, but I like Playing with Fire is one book that I really liked. No Bad Parts. It's about internal family systems. It's another book that you can read about these parts of you that are wounded, and how to kind of talk to them, how to heal them, how to have a conversation with them. Inner child work also, it's a big one. Sometimes coming to Inside Timer and finding a meditation about the specific topic that you are kind of. So, for example, Lillian was talking about feeling abandoned, and feeling like, oh, part of me feels that I want to text, I want to know where he is. So doing a meditation about that and kind of exploring that. So yeah, it's a combination of things. And if you just do a quick search, I always do a quick search on Google, a quick search on ChatGPT, a quick search on YouTube, and then a quick search on Spotify, and see what kind of podcasts are out there. And when you see something that you resonate with, then take action, and then listen, watch, read, book a session, whatever you want to do, right? In the past, for example, it's interesting, because when we talk about presence and not having to do anything to create that safety and that intimacy, like, I had clients, female clients, that they have worked with me, and my role was just only being there, and I didn't have to do anything. And part of me felt conflicted with the idea of, but I'm not really doing anything here. Like, I'm not deploying any strategies. I'm not like, you are just talking at me the whole time. And then they will tell me, like, you can't imagine how healing this is for me right now. So I just was a safe presence, a safe male presence for that person. So never doubt what you need. Always ask for what you need. And you can always get a no, but if you get a yes, just receive what you need in whatever form that is for you in that moment. And same for me, right? I'm here, and sometimes I am helping people in ways that I don't really understand how it happens, but I don't want to get on the way. I don't want to have an expectation or an agenda. So this is a clear example of presence and listening and really honoring what the other person is asking for and being able to be present with that. And that's it. So this is an example of what it looks like to create this sacred container of presence, safety, awareness, and no agenda, no expectations, and just really taking moment to moment to moment. So yeah, I hope that helps. So you guys want to hear a few examples before we finish the session? We have 13 minutes left. Some real life examples. Yes, amazing. So example one, right? So these are real life examples that people recognize, right? Example one is there is an intense chemistry and there is an unstable connection, right? So you feel a lot of chemistry, but it doesn't feel stable. So in this case, like you are feeling, it feels electric, addictive, alive, also anxious, inconsistent, and dysregulating sometimes. So from a quantum view, what's happening here is that the nervous system recognizes familiarity, not health. Okay? And then there is a high charge, but there is no coherence. So basically, what's happening here is that we sense that there is a lot of attraction. Sometimes that feels really good in our body because we understand what that means. But then in the long term, it's just not sustainable. And what's happening there is that there are dynamics happening that feel exciting at the beginning, but then when you repeat them, you realize that they are not healthy, they are very toxic, and they are not grounded, and they are not conscious. So that's one example of feeling that attraction, but it's not really attraction, it's really attraction to something that feels familiar, to a dynamic that you understand, but that doesn't mean that that's what you really truly want. But your nervous system is reacting to that energetically. So this is one example. Another example is wanting intimacy but freezing. When that happens, you just freeze. So the desire exists, but the body shuts down, right? So you want that, but your physical body, your nervous system shuts down and collapses. So there is numbness, maybe pressure, maybe you disassociate, maybe you avoid, maybe you just leave. So from a quantum view, what's happening here is that the body is protecting itself. The body wants to protect itself because it senses that there is something unsafe happening, right? And then safety must come before desire. So this is where safety is so important in these situations, right? Because if you want something but your body is not opening and is not ready to receive that, that means that there is a lot of healing opportunities there for you. And if you have a partner that it can create safety with you, you can then move forward in that and discover what you need. And maybe you never had the opportunity to discover what it looks like to feel safe, what you need physically happening in the moment for you to feel safe. So maybe what you need is just an opportunity to discover by testing. How does it feel if I am breathing more? How does it feel if I maintain distance from you for a little bit? How does it feel if maybe you touch me softly, but I tell you where to touch me and then you stop and you don't take initiative? How does it feel if, and then you keep trying and testing and then you discover what feels right? Another example, sex used to feel chosen. So you are using the sex to feel that you are being chosen, and that makes you feel well, right? So sex becomes a way to secure connection. Afterwards, emptiness and confusion can happen, right? So from a quantum view, what's happening here is that sexual energy amplified insecurity instead of coherence, because you remember you enter that interaction with a specific emotion and everything gets amplified. So if you are entering with loneliness, everything is going to get amplified. But I would like to say that if you are entering with loneliness consciously, is very different than if you are entering with loneliness unconsciously. Because if you are entering with that consciously, most likely, well, you are going to be honest, you are going to share that, you are going to be seen in that, and then there is going to be an opportunity to explore where is that coming from, why am I feeling this, be present with it, and there will be a liberation eventually of energy, right? And I'm curious to know if you guys have any thoughts of that I shared. If you have any other example that you want to share about this. Yeah, and then when we talk about sacred sexuality as integration, right? This is not about fixing anything. This is about learning from the experience and then integrating that in a way that feels aligned for you. So you can ask something like, can I stay present with what's here, right? So can I stay present with what's here now, with this feeling of loneliness or with this feeling of shutting down that I have? Can I be present with this? Can I allow energy to move without forcing an outcome? So can I allow that energy to move in whatever way it needs to move, and I don't have to know how that needs to happen, and I don't have to have an outcome? And then can I meet myself honestly instead of performing? Again, this is when you are entering and you don't have to do anything, you are not expected to do anything, and you don't have to pretend. You are just being completely honest with yourself and with the other person. And you are bringing that to the moment, to the moment, to the moment. And then it's a journey because every moment is going to look different, right? Every moment when it's fully felt and you are fully there, you have no idea what it's going to take you, right? And that's okay because you are okay with that uncertainty. Hopefully there is, you need safety for that to happen, of course. So Haley on Wheel says, I see sacred interactions as being transparent and giving. Yeah, transparent for sure. Giving sometimes. Sometimes you give, sometimes you receive, sometimes you just be, just presence. And again, you don't have to do anything or you don't have to enter with the idea, I have to come here and give something. Or I want to come here and get something. Or I have to come here and my outcome is this. So if you enter with that, that is a goal-oriented interaction. There is nothing wrong with that, as long as that's what you want. But it's a different kind of container. It's a different kind of experience, right? Because there is nothing wrong with saying, listen, I just want to have sex with you right now and I just want to have an orgasm. There is nothing wrong if that's what you want, but then that is not the same idea of a moment-to-moment, non-goal-oriented practice. It's a very different one. And again, it's not right or wrong, better or worse. It's just a different experience. And it's valid, of course. And I think you can have both. Why do you have to choose, right? Sometimes you will feel like sacred sexuality. Sometimes you may feel like having a goal-oriented experience. And sometimes you may feel that you want to give something to your partner. And sometimes you may feel like you want to receive something from your partner and you allow yourself to ask and request that. And you won't take it personally if they don't want to do that to you. But at least you are being honest, right? And you are being transparent. And I think that's very important. Yeah, so we have a few minutes left, and So to recap, some of the practical tools that we have talked about for you to take home, for you to take into your practice if you decide to experience with this. So breath awareness, really being aware of how you are breathing and using your breath to regulate. And you can do this with your partner too. You can just sit in front of each other and just say, let's just breathe together for a minute. Sometimes I put my head on my partner, or sometimes we lay down together and then we just breathe. So sometimes we put our hands on our chest, on our heart, and we just breathe together. So naming the sensations instead of the story. So very important, just name how you are feeling, but don't get lost in the story. Just, I am feeling this. I am feeling numbness. I'm feeling a contraction in my throat. I am feeling pressure on my upper body, or I am feeling tingling in my back, or whatever it is, but don't get lost in the story and separate those two things. Grounding through thoughts or presence. Sometimes you can ground the other person by just being present and really eye contact and really being there and just accepting what's happening. You don't need anything to change, you are just there. And sometimes physical touch can be really soothing for some people, again, with consent, but sometimes experimenting with some physical touch can be really nice. Pausing when activation arises, very important. Just pause. If things get kind of feel out of control, just pause and just come back to a safe pose. You can talk with your partner about that. What does it look like if we feel unsafe? What do we do when that happens? And you can maybe agree on, okay, if any of us feels unsafe, what we're gonna do, we're gonna say pineapple, and then we're gonna sit in front of each other and we're just gonna stop everything and just look at each other. Maybe that's a practice. So you just do that, right? And then you are pausing. And then permission to stop anytime without rupture in connection. So any of the two people can say, I had enough, I am done. But that doesn't mean that they want to disconnect from you. So you can do that, still remaining in connection and honoring each other. So yeah, so those are some of the kind of tools that you can say and you can use. I see sacred interactions as being transparent and giving. Yeah, I think I read that already. Yeah, so this is the end of the session. So to close the one sentence, like sacred sexuality is not about doing more. It's about being more present. Okay? So sacred sexuality, it's not about doing more. You don't have to do more. You just have to be more present. And I hope that this gives you some ideas, some, again, everybody's on this journey. I am on this journey. I really enjoy this. Sometimes it's very difficult to make it happen because I feel very agitated or triggered, or my partner does. But I don't want to let those excuses stop me from keep trying, because that's what I really want. I want more depth. I want more presence. And I want to discover things about myself and to give that opportunity to my partner too. So yeah, can you expand on the embodiment practices that are out there for sexual trauma healing? Yeah, Linda. So I did an experience with John Wyland, and I did a 6-month container, couples container with my partner Samantha in one of them, and that's where we learn lots of things, including Imago Dialogue, and that's the tool that we have used for the last 4 years. Imago Dialogue really allows us to communicate in a way that feels really good, and we created a course together that is available for you to check on Insight Timer. I also did an experience with Andrew Barnes in the Czech Republic, and that was called body de-armoring. But there was a lot of sexuality introduced into that. There was a body de-armoring of the genitals, and there was a lot of consent, being able to speak up your truth. So there is a lot of things that you can learn. I also was able to do another workshop with John Wyland where I went in person, and this was called the Sacred Art of Intimacy. And in that, you get to practice. You can go with your partner. In that in that occasion, I went alone. My partner sent me there because they were sold out of the couples. So she sent me there, and I had the opportunity to practice with other women. Like, we didn't do anything sexual. It was just like energetic. And then you get to practice, and then people give you real feedback. And then lots of things show up in those practices because you have a mirror in front of you. That's why I'm saying that any partner is going to act as a mirror for you. And you're going to be able to see things about yourself that you won't be able to see alone. So yeah, so those are some of the experiences that I have had the opportunity to do. Yeah, so good. Thank you so much for this topic. Thank you. This session has been very helpful. I'm really happy. Sharon says, yes, thank you for your presence and wisdom on this topic. You are most welcome, Sharon. Thank you for being here. And Helium Will says, you did a live dialogue with Samantha years ago. It was fantastic. Yeah, I think there is a recording of that dialogue that you can find on Inside Timer. I think I uploaded it. So if you just type Imago Dialogue on Inside Timer, you will find it. Or if not, go to my profile link on Inside Timer, and then you will find the course, and you will find some recordings that I have done of live events about that. But yeah, there are so many different ways of doing this, and I think it's important for you to follow your intuition, okay? Amazing, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your presence. And I hope that you can take some of these ideas into your life, and you can use that in a beautiful way for you to keep growing as a person, okay? I hope to see you next week if you can make it. And until then, I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend, okay? Adios.